And now for something completely different.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Strap yourself in.
Because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
This podcast is proud to be part of the Talk Sport Fan Network. Talk Sport, powered by fans.
Right, Chris. All right, welcome along. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, good whatever, wherever you are. Isn't it good to be a fox at the moment? Now, look, those of you that follow me regularly, and welcome if you are watching me, like I say, on YouTube or Twitch on Leicester Till I Die TV, you will know this. And if you listen to me on your favourite podcast platform, this says Leicester Till I Die, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, and your whatever, I say many platforms, you will know I like a joke as much as the next man, if not more than the next man. But I must admit, we are what? We are 12, 16 and 30, we're about 47 days into the new year, and this, to me, is the biggest joke. And I don't think it will be bettered as a joke, this. But apparently, and now bear with me on this, because you may think I'm lying, but no. It's making me laugh say this. Former Leicester City star Wesley Fofana rejects mercenary claims. I know!
Viewers, apologize. I'm continue.
Maybe we could replace mercenary. Twat, dick, idiot, arsehole. I mean, these are terms that you would only apply if somebody, whoever that might be, was just sat in the audience, well, in the crowd, if you like, watching a game, and because you're on strike or whatever, and your teammate steps up, takes a free kick, that's a goal, marvellous free kick, marvellous goal, and you would sit there and not celebrate. In fact, find it very hard to take your eyes up off the phone. I can't imagine anybody doing that. Can you?
The Premier League is back, and we've got it all covered here on Leicester Till I Die TV. Subscribe.
It is. Lisa is in. Good evening, Lisa. How the devil are you? Welcome along. Have we seen you before? If not, welcome along for the first time. Please subscribe. If so, welcome back. Nice to have you. Here's an old, well, I say an old face. Let's just forget the face. Here's an old one. Mike, how the devil are you? You're fine, apparently. Welcome along. I'm sorry, I just don't believe Wesley Fofana. I really don't. As Brad likes to call him, the French Voldemort. But I think it's just, don't call me a mercenary. Yeah, well, that was a lot politer than I was thinking of calling you, Wesley, believe you me. So, this weekend, it's a small matter, just a small matter of, Nate is in. Good evening, Nate. How the devil are you? So welcome along. We will be joined by Rich from Rich Sports, Man United channel, about 9 o'clock. And we'll also be joined by Brad as well, who I believe is just finishing off his top 10s battles with Big Ant. So they'll be joining us later. We'll look at the stats first. Of course, the stat is the biggest knobhead of the week, Wesley Fofana. But let's move on. I won't mention it again. I promise I won't mention it again. What a twat. That lasted, didn't it? Anyway, let's have a look at some facts and figures for you ahead of this game. How I am feeling confident is the wrong word because it's Manchester United, but I'm feeling more confident than I was a few weeks ago. I don't want to put any pressure on, Tete, Christensen, Sutar, but I'm really excited. Since they've come in, it seems to have re-galvanized the squad. What do you think? Rene's in. Good evening, Rene. How are you? Well, let's go through some stats. Here we go. Head to head. We have played Manchester United 33 times in the Premier League. My favourite saying. Where did you find that from? Of course it is. It is Tete time. We played them 33 times. Manchester United have won 20. And we've won 4. But there has been 9 draws. I think we got 2 draws against them, didn't we, when we won the league? But look, they've won 10 at home and we've won 2 away. So if you look at that, and I know football's not played on paper, but if you look at that, you probably have to say Man United are the favourites. Now, this season, look, Man United, to me, I think they've got the best manager that they've had for a while in. He certainly knows how to drive. He got rid of a certain Portuguese pain in the arse. There's a lot of them, isn't it? There's a lot of these foreigners that are pain in the arses. Wesley Fofana. But I hadn't got them down for doing so well. I thought this season was going to be very much a bit like Arsenal for the last couple of years, very much a how can I say, rebuild season. But it's not, had they not lost a couple of silly games, they could probably be challenging Arsenal and Man City. So, well, fair play to them and fair play to Ten Hag. So, I'm like I say, still worried. But then again, who would have thought we'd have beaten Aston Villa, having never beaten anybody higher than I think about 14th, 13th in the table. And then, of course, went and beat Spurs. We mashed the Spuds. David is in. Good evening, sir. How the devil are you? Welcome along. And as Rennie says there, still no Casemiro. Indeed. I haven't sort of seen who they've got as injured, but that is great news. And wasn't it good? Wasn't it good to see Ricardo back? It really is. And of course, because I think Ricardo can play further up the field. So we've lost Albrighton. Yes, we've got Tete in, but if Tete is injured or is, God help us, sent off and has to miss some games, we can always, of course, push Ricardo up there. I think it is as good in there as he is at right back. Mike, you are quite right, sir. First Villa, then Spurs, to Man United next for a walloping. Look, when you looked at February, because of course we didn't know who we were going to get in the World Cup, in the FA Cup. When you looked at February and you looked at Villa, Spurs, Man United, Arsenal, I'm thinking, bloody hell, this is the month from hell. I thought if we're going to get 3 points from anybody, it was going to be Villa. No disrespect to them, but looking at those teams, you would do. Yeah. Spurs, I just did not see that coming at all. I mean, who would have thought that would have happened? Certainly not me.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
No, I certainly did not. Man United, I think, will be our toughest game. Arsenal, they are struggling a little bit. Maybe they're feeling the heat at the top of the division. I thought it was theirs to lose. Looks like that's what they're going to do. And Anthony is still injured apparently as well. So good news there. Well, not for him, obviously, and I don't wish him any harm. But there we go. But these are our last games against Manchester United. We lost in the reverse fixture earlier this season, 1-0. That wasn't a walloping. We got a draw with them back in April last season. We beat them 4-2 in October. 4-2. Now that rings a bell. I like that score. I do. I've put my prediction in now, otherwise I could have changed it to 4-2. We then beat them again in May 2021. And we beat them again in March 2021. Before that, we drew with them 2-2. So yeah, we've not, won that many, but of those 4 wins, 3 of those have been quite recent. So maybe it's, and looking at us, maybe it's Manchester United that worry. I hope Brendan sticks with the same team. I really, really do. Simply because it's a winning team. Let me just pull something else up while I'm at this. I always forget to do this. Football apps. There we go. There it is. I hope he doesn't start now linking. Oh, this is Manchester United, so we've got to change things around a bit. Because that's when what he's like. That's when it goes wrong. Man United. Yeah, I mean, if he's doing what he's doing now with weakish team and a team that he's rebuilding, what the bloody hell is he going to do? When he gets to there's a full squad. I think they've got a good manager there. I really, really do. These are the last games that we've played. Manchester United, thank you, Manchester United, beat Leeds 2-0. But the first time they were 2-0 down against Leeds. So as you can see, Manchester United are susceptible to not necessarily really going for it in the game. I mean, for Leeds to go 2-0 up against Man United, they just sacked the manager as well. I've said that. It's a bit of a bounce. They beat Palace 2-1. They lost to Arsenal 3-2. In fairness, they were unlucky to do that. And they drew 1-1 with Crystal Palace in the game before that. Going back 6 games, we lost to Fulham 1-0. We lost to some little piddly team up in, up further up the M1. I don't know what they're called. But then, look, since then, Brighton 2-2. We have the win against Walsall in there as well. Villa 4-2. Spurs 4-1. 4 games, really, if you count the cup, unbeaten. I never thought I was going to see that this season. Did you? Really? Mike says, really fancy our chances against Arsenal too. There's going to go 3-1 to the Foxes. I think we can get something from Arsenal now, looking at them, because they want revenge, but that will be the next game. When they come to us, they might be in a, depending on how Manchester City do, they may be really starting to panic. And like I say, maybe that pressure has got to them. The pressure that didn't get to Leicester once we were top. Maybe it's got that. That's getting to Arsenal. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, what a shame. Keep Sundays to exactly. You, me, and everybody else, whatever we were predicting in the prediction shows and on other people's shows, Spurs shows, etc. Let's be honest, none of us actually believed that we could win it. And I know if you said you did, you are a liar. With the best will in the world. Look, goals. and assists. Marcus Rashford, how is he hitting a vein of form? That is a little bit worrying. I like Marcus Rashford. If I had a chance to buy him a Kane, I would probably buy Marcus Rashford, to be honest with you. He's got 12 goals, Maddison 9, Barnes 8. But then again, look at Kelechi. I mean, he just likes scoring at the moment, doesn't he? He can't stop scoring. And of course, he is our own Nacho. Oh, indeed. Assists, Christian Eriksen 7, Maddison 5, Bruno Fernandes 4. Please, God. I mean, I know we've got Daka, and I know we've got Jamie Vardy. And Jamie Vardy came on for the last, 15, 20 minutes against Spurs, and that's fine. That's how I want him to be used. But please don't think, oh, let's give Kelechi a rest. No, Vardy's not scoring. Love Vardy to bits. I'd have his babies. You know that. But he isn't on form goal-wise at the moment. Iheanacho is. Iheanacho gets the starts. Daka, maybe start him for the Rovers, Bristol Rovers, Blackburn Rovers in the in the FA Cup, and then again bring Vardy on. But you've got to start Iheanacho now. We did a show the other day. It is still on there if you want to check it, and that is the debate show, Question Time. And I thought it was, we go where the chat takes us and respond to those sort of points that are raised. But we always start it off, and the one I started off with: should Kelechi Iheanacho be the first name, but be our number one striker? And I think everybody was actually saying, without a doubt. Victor will stop Rashford from scoring. I mean, he's had a couple of ishy moments, in fairness. When there was the own goal. But let's be honest with you, if you're going to score an own goal, do it a couple of weeks after somebody else has scored 2, and people aren't going to be that mad at you. But I tell you what, Wout Faes came across, tapped him on the shoulder. I'm sure he was having a word with him at half time. Victor was immense last one. He will step it up in the air. The only thing is, I mean, he was lucky because, of course, the ball hit his knee and went up and over. What I did like when that happened, his celebration. And if he ever scores a goal, God, get out of his way, because he'll be running into the town centre. He really will. Welford Road, boom, down, and we're gone. But unfortunately, again, and it wasn't a mistake, but he put his foot. It was right to try and clear it, but it was spinning. It came off his foot. And let's be honest with you, the guy that scored for Tottenham didn't have to really do much, did he? Same squad against United. Oh, definitely 110,000 million %. And if I've told you not to exaggerate once, I've told you 10,000 million %. Trouble is, Rennie Rashford usually plays on the left, so it would be up against Castagna or Ricky P. So it might be a bit of a struggle. But we need both Faes and Soutard to be on their game. We need the starting 11 and up to 5 substitutions to be on their game as well, without a doubt. Passes. Martinez has had the most with 1,158. Tielemans actually second with 1,147. And Luke Shaw, as you can see there, third with 1,121. Casemiro has put in 56 tackles, but Rennie tells me he's not playing. Fernandes 53, Castagna 52. Terry's in, yeah, all good with me, all good with you too, I hope. We're picking a team later. We've got no Craig tonight, but we have got Brad, who is stepping manfully into his shoes. I think that's the word. He's just finishing off his show at the moment. So let us look very Lisa, I do hope that Terry knows you, and that is a joke, because There's that sort of comment that can see you removed. So this is how the table stand. Manchester United, I say unbelievably for me, are in third. I take it you know her, Terry. If you know her, I thought I'll give you a few minutes to see if you respond to it. Do tell me, Terry, if you know her. Manchester United sat in third place with 46 points. The last 6 games, 1 drawn, lost, 1 drawn, won. Leicester, 24 points. We sat in 13th. Let's hope it's not unlucky for us. Lost, drawn, 1-1. We're going in the right direction. And let's be honest with you, we can't always rely on the smaller teams that are coming up to play. We've got to play these big teams at some point. Oh, did you not know her? Did you not know her, Terry? And if that's the case, you've done the right thing. Well done. Let's have a look at the form tables. So, on overall form, Man United are 5th in the form table. Leicester City are up to 12th in the form table. 11 points from the last 6 games for Man United, 7 points from the last 6 games for Leicester. What I've got to say is, I mean, that will look better if we carry on this streak, because obviously the last games will be dropping off the back. Okay, Terry, in that case, well done, mate. Well done. You did the right thing getting rid of her. And then if we look at the home form, ooh, oh, as it stands, home form, Manchester United are top with 16 points. And I don't know what was up with her, David. I mean, she's surprised because she had waited a while, because she was in right at the start, and she'd waited a while. But, you know, we're not got a case here of... I thought when you replied, okay, Terry, that you knew her. I don't know a case of, you know, Terry and Lisa sitting in the tree. Sorry, Terry. Oh, God. Will you tell your wife not to come in, Terry, please? I've told you before that this is a family show. Tell her you'll see her after the show. Mike says our defence looks so much better now. Excellent. To say that we've got 3 new players in that back 4, it's amazing. Midfield is excellent, and up front we're looking good. Chris, we all love Nacho and we'll start every game. About the Daka's progress, especially as Nacho is so hot. Daka needs a good run as well, which he's not been getting. Nacho never got a good run until the end of that season, a few seasons ago, and when he did, wham, he was on form. But yeah, but I know what you're saying, Mike. But I was talking to Ian Hume last night. What a lovely, lovely guy, by the way. If you haven't seen it yet, please go to Leicester Till I Die TV. It's either under latest shows or the interview zone. It was an hour and a half of pure joy. I mean, I always feel quite honoured that I get to speak to these players. You know, I've watched these from the from the sidelines, and you know they've been my heroes in so many ways. But I just. He was just a joy. I've never had a show go on as long as that before. I literally hadn't noticed the time. And I said to him about Nacho and Daka and what have you. And it was always going to be hard while Vardy was on form, because, you know, how do you replace Vardy if he's on form? You know, you just don't. Nacho, I think, is now suffering from... Sorry, Daka is now suffering from what Nacho was suffering from. And in the fact that he's not getting the game time. Oh, you saw it, Mike. Well done. Well done. Thank you. Those conversations are your favourite? Look, I'm going to go off at a bit of an angle here because we'll come back to the stats in a minute. But guys, if you like those conversations, you lucky bugger. That's all I'll say, Terry. Share them around. Don't keep them all for yourself. Typical. But no, if you like those conversations, if you like what we did with Ian Hume, next Wednesday at 9 o'clock, it's a small matter of this guy, Stan Collymore. Wednesday, the 22nd, I believe it is. Wednesday the 22nd at 9 o'clock. I checked with him earlier on today. Checked he was still okay. He said yes, and we're reminding him next week as well. It's going to be a very, very interesting conversation. The one that got away for me only played 11 games, but I've got a signed picture of him up on the wall with his match ball after that Sunderland game. I mean, I'm going to be nervous but honoured for. So Stan the man will be here next Wednesday at 9 o'clock. But yeah, so Daka will, once he gets that run and gets that goal that will give him confidence, because let's be honest with you, 4 goals against Moscow in the Europa, we know he can do it. Question for one and all. 70 minutes gone. Nacho comes off. Who would you choose to come on, Vargs or Daka? I'm going to come back to that in a second. He was indeed. But look at our away form. Our away form, we're second in the form table on away games. My God. Is this the same Leicester I'm talking about that I was talking about 3 or 4 months ago? Wow, what has happened? Let's put this one up for you. This just shows Manchester United's strengths. They are very strong at counter-attacks. We are very strong at shooting from direct free kicks. You can see their strengths there. Finishing scoring chances, attacking down the wings, creating chances using through balls. You can read it there. Unless you obviously listen on the podcast, creating chances through individual skill, coming back from losing positions, Leicester's strengths, creating long shot opportunities, finishing scoring chances and counter-attacks. That will obviously, I believe, get better the further into the season we go and the better we do. Manchester United's weaknesses is avoiding offside, stopping opponents from creating chances, defending set pieces, defending against long shots. Come on, madam. Come on, Maddison. Oh, God, I tell you what, this vodka and coke. Whoa. I shouldn't blame that all the time. It's just my teeth. Avoiding fouling in dangerous areas. Leicester's weaknesses, defending counter-attacks, defending set pieces, no shit, Sherlock. Early aerial duels, defending against skillful players, protecting the lead, stopping opponents from creating chances, and defending against long shots. Brad is in. We'll bring him in a second. And here's just the style of the teams. Manchester United style is short passes, attempting the through balls often, taking long shots, possession football, attacking down the left and aggressive. Leicester like to play with width, attacking down the left, take long shots, short passes, attempting the through balls often, non-aggressive, playing in their own half and playing the offside trap. And that is your stats. I won't ask what you were getting up to in LA as a young man, David. I really won't. Stan the man, what a player. Tell me about it. Just as a final reminder, I'll probably remind you again later in the... Brad's in twice. Not sure what he's doing there. But next Wednesday, 9 o'clock, Stan Collymore, in conversation with him, 1-to-1. Don't be there or be square. And it is only available on YouTube, and you will only be able to ask questions if you are a subscriber. So do not miss him, or miss me for that matter. I know you can't miss me, like seeing the Elephant Man coming towards you, isn't it? But look, they got away. They got away. I'm going to bring Brad in first because he's going to like this joke. He loves my jokes. Sorry, no worries at all, no worries. I've just saved that, though. We'll come back to that later in the show. Stan was electric, definitely was the one that got away. Brad, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, sir. Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. Looking forward to this fixture, which is something we didn't think we'd be saying before.
No.
Well, a few weeks ago, at least.
Difficult month suddenly looks a lot brighter. But I want to start because you know you love my jokes, don't you?
Yeah, you know, like people love holes in the head. I mean, yes.
Oh, it's up there with it, isn't it? Well, apparently, I don't know how true it's in, but it is in the Leicester Mercury. But apparently, former Leicester City star Wesley Fofana rejects mercenary claims. Now, he goes on to say that he doesn't want to be called a mercenary, and I did suggest earlier a few other words that we could use. Arsehole was one that sprung to mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I just found that very funny that he thinks that he's not been mercenary after his last two moves. But there we go. But let's bring our guest in. I wasn't going to be looking forward to this a few weeks ago. But all credit to them. They are sat third in the table. I had them, I think, for sixth this season with the rebuild, so they're doing really, really well. And they've just come off a 2-2 draw with Barcelona, which it isn't bad for a team going through what they're going through at the moment. Let's bring him in. Rich, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. My voice is a bit bad, as you might be able to tell, but hopefully we can get through it.
Were you cheering a little bit tonight?
It was a very good performance from United, and I think 2-2 is probably Barcelona have got away with one. I know I might be a bit biased, but if you don't watch the game, I think actually we surprised a lot of people tonight, and it was good to see.
I wasn't able to see it because I was preparing for this, but was it at Barcelona or at Manchester?
It was at Barcelona, so yeah, tough place to go. I think we've never won there. I think they're 8 points clear of La Liga, so a very difficult game in the Europa League. Obviously, they got relegated from the Champions League this year, so yeah, tough game, and we're playing like a game every 3 days. They're coming thick and fast, but looking forward to Leicester. Always look forward to the Premier League games.
Well, yes, and as I always say, if you want success, you've got to play the games, haven't you? Because they all come thick and fast.
I don't mind the fixtures. It's good to be in the competitions. I would say Leicester seem to be picking up form as well, so it's going to be an interesting one.
I think it is. I'll put your details in the description below, but just give everybody a shout out where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Rich Sports. Occasionally, I pop up on other channels as and when. Great to come and speak to rival fans about a team, particularly as Raven, like you said, it's a bit of a rebuild season, but maybe looking at the league table, it's going a bit quicker than we expected. Actually, quite a lot better than I think I expected. I probably put us in like Europa League, 5th, 6th, maybe. But if we got top 4, I think at the start of the season, people would have been pleasantly surprised if they're Manchester United fans. And I think the fact we're up there is, quite impressive.
Yeah, Brad, you obviously regular on the channel, but you do have your own channel. Where can people find your channel?
Yeah, you can find the channel Top 10 Battles over on YouTube. We've just literally come from a stream doing now there. So obviously after here, don't leave the show. This is a great show, but if you could check that out, it'd be brilliant. Follow me on Twitter at Full Time Focus if you're into football top 10s and stuff like that. And yeah, you'll see all the videos I do on there when it's a quiz night or a show night.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know what you mean. What is wrong with my elephant jokes?
Well, they've finally fallen out of the tree. That's what's happened to the elephant, haven't
they? If my phone goes off, it will be the Nelly phone. Don't worry. Anyway, there we go. Look, no, let's come back because I was looking at some stats here, and for the last half an hour, we've met each other 33 times, Rich, in the Premier League. You have won 20 of those. We've only won 4. You've won 10 at home. We've won 2 away. But at the moment, we seem to like breaking these runs for people.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. I would say based on when we both played each other early in the season, I think both teams have improved a lot, and I think the Premier League we've been fantastic for a long time, so it's no surprise our record's very good. I think actually if you look probably the last maybe 3 or 4 years, they're probably a bit more even. Definitely a few defeats, I would say. So it's probably a bit more even recently.
Funny you should mention that. I wasn't going to bring it up, but as soon as you did, Brad.
I think you got to say fair play. Leicester have been sort of top 4 Europa League positions for a number of years, so until this season. So it is what it is.
Brad, our last games, we lost to Manchester United, as we said earlier in the season, 1-0 at home. We drew with them in April. But before that, in October 2021, we beat them 4-2. I like the sound of that scoreline.
I think I've forgotten that one somehow.
In May 21, we beat them 2-1. In March 21, we beat them 3-1. And before that, which is the only far I go back on here, we got a 2-2 draw with them. So the recent form, we've only lost 1. Well, but this way, this sounds better actually. Manchester United have only beaten us once in the last 6 games.
Yeah, it's a good result, and obviously I think that 3-1 coincided with Leicester's surge towards the FA Cup. So it's always good to play United, and in a weird way, they're at that point of peak of resurgency, aren't they? That I've said this about a few teams this season, which is why I think Man United and probably Newcastle are probably still a season and a bit away from being seriously back. More Man United, obviously, than Newcastle, but in terms of a title charge to be back. But we've been right up there, and like Rich says, when you're fighting for the top 4 or 5 spots in the league, you have to be getting these results. And like you've said, they've matched that. We've only lost 1 in the last 6, and it's always been a good game. It's something that was a little bit of a hoodoo. I mean, before these 6 games, we were looking back at Tony Cottee scoring at Old Trafford, and I think Keller was making about 8 saves that game to keep us 1-0 up. So the fact that the fortunes have changed gives us a great confidence going into it, doesn't it?
Yeah. A friend of yours here, Rich, of course, Darius. You've got.
I think it's complimentary. I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah. I'm not sure it was probably meant as that. And
I think he's talking about Ten Hag's knowledge. Obviously,
I think that's what he means. Indeed.
I think so.
And beyond the 90s in Neil, I'm guessing. How are you? It's a real test for Leicester to see where we are. It is. Hello to the panel. Baratzin, good evening, sir. How are you? And Neil says, I don't care if we lose. We just need to see a fight. And Darius says, no, it's because you're bold, Rich.
Yeah, I thought it might be. Well,
that's unnecessarily mean.
Doesn't have a profile picture of himself up. So we don't know what he looks like. You could have less hair than you, Rich. But
he could do.
This season, I can say, I think I had you down for, like you say, probably Europa League places. Fair play to Ten Hag. I think you got the right manager. And I think he was going to be given time, whether that was with the Glazes or possible new owners. Let's first of all want to come on to Rashford, because not Rashford, no, I don't. I want to come on to he who must not be spoken about, the Sky's favourite brother. See, I've forgotten his name already. Who is it? Praise for Portugal. You got rid of him. It was a pain in the arse. Sorry?
Oh, Ronaldo.
That's it. I didn't want to say his name. You said he told me. I mean, he was only because he got 3 goals in some Saudi Arabian game and therefore reached a target. Like, he's not going to score 3 goals every game over there.
Yeah. What was the target he was reaching?
Were you one that was glad to see the back of him, Rich?
I think, to be honest, actually, if you look at when he was in the team, his contribution wasn't really helping us as a team. So regardless of any emotional attachment to Ronaldo, which I don't tend to get emotionally attached to the players, I just want Manchester United to win, and we actually look better as a team without him. I think it's no disrespect to Ronaldo, he's had a great career, but he's not the player he used to be. I think Manchester United, we got the best years out of Ronaldo, or maybe Real Madrid got the best years out of Ronaldo. We kind of trained him up for that. I think most rational Manchester United fans will be look at where we started in the league. Ronaldo had, I can't remember how many games, got 2 goals, and his contribution wasn't really helping us. He obviously wants to play at the highest level, which obviously, well, now he wants to just pay for a lot of money, it appears. I thought he did want to play for the highest level, but now he wants to pay for the highest bidder. So I'm not really bothered what happens with Ronaldo. It's a shame that it's ended that way, that he's just gone for the cash, because I think he could still do a job for a few teams, but ultimately he just really fit into our team. It's not really you can't build around somebody that age. So I'm happy that he's moved on, and we can look forward to giving youngsters a chance in our team, some of the new signings as well. So I think it's like it is a rebuild, isn't it? And you can't have a rebuild while clinging on to the past. So I'm fine with it.
That's very true. And you must also be fine if it's true that the Glazers are going to sell, because nobody still, I don't think 100% knows whether it's a full sale or they're just going to sell part of it or what. But they look like they're leaving, and you've got to be happy with that.
I think that's almost certainly going to happen, and there's lots of information coming out. Someone that's been a regular guest on my channel for a few years, Tom, is going to do a podcast with me tonight at 11, where he works for the media. There's lots of stories coming through. There's basically, I think there was a deadline for serious bids. There's lots of consortium interested. It's going to be sold. I'm almost certain of that. Who it gets sold to, I think, is completely unknown. I'm 100% sure the Glazers will take the highest offer, but I think there are different rules and regulations in place after the Glazers, which mean that debt cannot be put onto any club. That's against rules, against the law. So I think football fans can be more confident that teams that get bought, there isn't going to be the same issue that the Glazers cause. So hopefully, whoever, I don't think Manchester United needs someone to come in and pump money in a bit like a Manchester City project, because we can run sustainably. We could have Chelsea-style transfer windows sustainably based on the revenue we generate. So I would rather see somebody come in, run the club properly, like it hasn't been done now. Don't take money out. You don't necessarily have to put money in, and just run it as a sustainable business. I don't know who's going to win. There's so many people involved, but it does seem good news, because that I don't tend to like bang on about the Glazers. I know a lot of people do. It's just obviously I don't want them there, but saying it every single hour, it isn't going to make much difference. I'm just hoping that this will get wrapped up probably in the next couple of months. I think there's like a deadline for something in March, April, but by the end of the season, hopefully a fresh start, and we can look forward to the future.
Well, good luck. I hope it works out for you, and I hope the owners are if they're half as good as ours, then you'll be doing all right. But
there's some good owners. You have to say that.
Yes, we are lucky. We are lucky. Are we not, Brad?
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. Look, people can say I've got my old blue tinted specs on, but I would argue with anybody. As Nippon once said, I'm sure you remember he said it enough, guys. He said, "I'll die on this hill," in saying that we've got one of the best owners in football. For what not just for how they are as people and decent human beings, but for what they've done for this club since the day they've arrived. It's very hard to find a fan that will say they're not, if not the best owners in the Premier League, if not one of the best in football.
Yeah, there's a few, isn't there, that run well. I'd say Brighton and Brentford could be other clubs you could probably put into that bracket.
Yeah.
Can I just say, and this is another news item, that the 3 guys that caused all the trouble in Nottingham for the away FA Cup match have all been sentenced over violence. So hope they probably won't learn the lesson, but at least they've been dealt with.
That's good news.
Yeah, it is good. So, Brad, like I say, I have been one side of that fence in favour of Rodgers, the other side, I wanted him out of the club. I say that often I've built a gate in the fence, so it's easy for me to go from one side to the other. I can remember not so long ago, writing a piece for the BBC saying, Rodgers, get out of our club. Maybe a bit harsh looking back on it. But at that time, I think I was probably had the majority of the fans sort of with me. This was his last chance, in fairness. I mean, he didn't have the summer, which we didn't know at the time, that he hadn't got the backing in the summer. He has been given the backing now. He wanted 3 positions filling. He's filled those 3 positions. And he's got to get it right now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And, we've talked about this a few times when we've mentioned other managers. And Rich, if you ever want Ten Hag getting sacked down the line, just let me know and I'll start mentioning him, because Chris knows my record when I take a disliking to a manager.
4 he's got rid of. 4 he's got rid of this season.
Yeah, although obviously the choices, but no, Rod, we talk about in football that sometimes you've got to be a bit patient. You look at Arsenal this season. I know they've gone. I know the Arsenal. I know the Arteta. Very, very true. Their bath time.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I know the Arteta brigade came out in their droves after losing to Man City, as if they lost to Chesterfield in the cup or something.
Yeah,
the way
I think the overreaction is hilarious and amusing from a neutral perspective, I would say.
Yeah, it is. But we're also looking at it and going, well, for a bit of time, you look what Arteta's achieved. He's brought them their only bit of silverware since Wenger's gone, I believe, hasn't he? I could be wrong, someone correct me on that one. Yeah. He's got them battling for a title that's very, very difficult to pry out of a Man City hands. Although it might not be if the UEFA actually grow a set and whatnot, but we'll see. We'll see when that comes to fruition or not. Yeah, but we've got the patience, and we said it, didn't we, Chris? We said, okay, you had the reasons, the injuries, you had the non-transfer window over the last few windows, because it's not just the summer one he's not been able to spend, and you gave us the reasons. You've been given the tools now to correct them reasons, and we've had the injured returns of Ricardo, etc., and obviously, fingers crossed, a few more coming back through it, and we've seen the instant impact. You've seen the reports, you've seen the ex-pros giving their team the weeks, and at least 3 Leicester players making it. It looks rejuvenated, and I even said, you can't get too carried away, but it does have reminiscence of that team that charged up the table and was challenging for them spots. It looks good again at Leicester, the way they go about it. And I think that short press from United's going to help us. Just on that.
Mike said here, those 3 knobs banned for going to matches for 6 years. Good. David, that Lisa, I don't know who she was. I think it's the first time I've seen her, and she was very, very quiet, and then she suddenly started getting a little bit naughty in the chat, as you saw. So you might want to just warn her. Warn Dan if you've seen him or her. I don't know, obviously, who it is, but she, hit him, her, whatever they called them. If you're a Sam Smith fan, is called Lisa, and she's likely to start being rude in the chat. So you might want to go and warn Dan. I actually went on to Stephen's channel the other day, not on the channel, just in the chat, and I went fishing, shall I say? Let me just put it that way. I went fishing, and my God, did I catch a big one! Bit. I said, like, what the hell? You're still moaning, blah 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 blah. And I think you'd certainly have a different manager and finish third than Arteta, and he just bit. It was such a pleasure and an enjoyment thing.
It is though, Chris, isn't it? It's quite unchallenging, unfortunately, with Arsenal fans. They're a bit looking for it, I think.
I have my moments, but I don't think I'm quite as bad as Stephen. I mean, as you look at it, Rich, are you thinking, God, I wish we played Leicester, before the window?
I wish we'd not had rescheduled fixtures, but unfortunately, that's kind of thrown a couple. I don't know, because I think we've improved as well. I think the timing with European matches is not ideal, but it's just the price of staying in all the competitions. So, I mean, I think we caught you early in the season where we were kind of finding our form a bit. And okay, it was only 1-0. I think we actually controlled a lot of the game, but we did catch Leicester on a bit of a low, so we were able to nullify you a bit. Good point, actually. We have had quite a difficult match tonight. We'll say difficult in terms of physically, it's going to be an effort. But Casemiro was suspended for a bit, and I think actually Sabitzer as well was suspended for that match. So the 2 midfielders that could be important on the weekend. And I don't think Rashford's ever tired. I don't think Garnacho will ever be tired if he's coming off the bench. We've got options. I think we've actually got more options than I was expecting at this stage of the season, because Maguire, we joke about the price tag and things, but there's no reason why he can't come back into the team. We've got Varane playing quite well. We've got quite a few options. Luke Shaw could be a centre back, could be a left back. So who knows? I think the interesting thing now is, as a fan, I'm looking at the games coming up, and I actually have no idea what the changes are going to be. That we could have players played in different positions. We could have something that you're not expecting, I'm not expecting. I think Barcelona weren't really necessarily expecting some of the things we did, but we possibly will be tired. But it's another competition. We're actually playing pretty well, so
yeah,
maybe we're going to try and catch Arsenal. That would be quite funny.
They could feel like Spurs, couldn't they, and finish third in the 2-horse race?
Yes,
I think we've gained 6 points in just 3 games, so we're on a decent bit of form. Arsenal have had a little wobble, but we'll see how long that lasts. They don't play Man City every week.
And of course, we've got Arsenal the week after we play you, Rich. So, we don't have.
Maybe decide the title, maybe.
Yeah, we could decide the title. Exactly.
What's like Leicester's plan now, though? Because I think relegation-wise, I'm guessing you're going to be safe. Very impressive win last outing. So, can you push for Europa? I mean, is that the aim? Do you think? There's some big teams down there, though.
I think I can't believe I'm saying this, but it is nice to be saying this. I will say that I'm going to go with the Rodgers approach, and that is we're not going to get carried away. We're going to keep trying to push this form up.
One game at a time. We're going to take one game.
No, but that's all you can do, because we could beat or get a point against United away, and then we could go and take the game to Arsenal, which seems to be the way he wants to do it, especially at home now. Is because them options are back and we've got them freshness in the team that gives us that other option that you'd fancy our chances against Arsenal, but then we could go on a bit of a spell. And look, when you're playing catch up, which we were doing, which ideally in August we'd have been looking at that top 8 thinking we can get ourselves amongst it. We are 11 points off it. We have to remember that it's going to take a monumental effort, which we are capable of. But right now, keep building, keep catching. And then if in April it's still a shout, I don't see why we can't nick a conference or a Europa League place. We'll see then. It's Leicester. I have to be cautious of the roller coaster.
You might be versus Chelsea and Liverpool for those, which is a kind of a weird fight for Europa. I wasn't envisaging.
I'd rather fight Chelsea and Liverpool for a Europa League spot come the end of the season than for 10th spot, because that's what we'll be fighting with the man for at the moment.
I think Everton.
For me, I think it's a little bit too far, because I think we have had, the gap is too big for us. I think, because we're asking for quite a few teams to drop quite a few points, and at the moment, I don't know if Fulham, Brentford, Brighton, they're just. I mean, I'm really pleased for them, because, as you know, I do like to see these other teams in the mix and shaking it around a bit. And it's such a shame about Liverpool and Chelsea. # not. But I just, whether it's a little bit too far for us, for me, if he can get us top 10 at the end of this season, I would be happy with that, looking at where we'd come from and sort of the problems we had at the start of the season. Darius says, is indeed he playing for Leicester because he's always a good thing for United? No, he's not. Well, I say no, I don't know. But if we're going on form, it's going to be Mendy if he goes for a defensive midfielder.
Definitely. I would say if he's going to do that in that game, he's going to do it. I mean, Rich, just so, Chris, if you don't, do you mind if I ask Rich? I mean, Chris brought it up at the stats just before I joined in that Manchester United, you're quite good at that intricate little quick passing. Tottenham did that against us, and I know you've got better quality than Spurs because, well, it's Spurs. But would you say that Manchester United will maybe approach the game differently, or do you just see that this is the United way, this is the way Ten Hag does it? Because that short passing, we were very good at not just breaking it up, but we got 2 goals from it. Do you see it as a threat? Do you see maybe a different style from United, or do you think
Isn't that how we scored against you in the 1-0? Wasn't it some intricate passing, Sancho and Rashford? That goal,
true,
I think,
but
broke through.
Yeah, true. But I would then argue that both clubs were at a different point. You were slowly starting to settle under Ten Hag's reign, and we were a performance was a win for us, not necessarily the result. It was in conjunction of a very few bad set of results. So losing 1-0 was almost a win for us during that period. Would you not think Leicester, given the performances, especially against Tottenham, would that be something that concerns United, or do you think Ten Hag is going to trust them
I
to?
would say, no disrespect to Tottenham, but when we played them, it's the worst Tottenham team I've seen for years. I think they got out of their half
No
once in the first half.
disrespect, and then does
But
that, right?
it was like, ignore the league form, ignore the league form. It was the least competitive Spurs team I've seen that we played. I was actually genuinely watching the match, thinking at some point Spurs will do something, and then it was just 1-0, 2-0, game over. They did nothing. I think they got out of their half twice. It was embarrassing, actually. It was the easiest game we've had this season, I think. But you could say, argue it was a complete performance by us. I think it's difficult to judge, isn't it? Because you look at teams like Everton beat Arsenal. I think the Premier League, I made this argument recently with people. I think it's the strongest league by a distance at the moment.
Yeah.
The quality, I think we're playing. I was a bit surprised by how comfortable we were at some points in the game against Barcelona. I think we're playing. I think Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City are better teams than Barcelona. They're more impressive teams. They're harder for us to play against. I think the Premier League is ridiculously good. So I think Leicester, you put them in a lot of competitions, they're going to cause problems. I think it's it's probably a more difficult game based on our record against you guys. Is not. I would say Luke Shaw, I think, has been incredibly good. I don't regard him as a liability. I regard lack of defensive organisation as a liability and lack of midfield structure when we lose the ball. I think we've improved massively in terms of how we approach the game, how we set up. So I think in the past, you look at last season. I don't want to write last season off because obviously the players are still here. There's a lot of the same players, but when we conceded possession, we looked like we're going to concede every time the opposition won the ball. You look at this season now, we're so much better organised that I think Luke Shaw, Maguire, Fred McTominay, all these players look less vulnerable. Exactly, like the rest defence, we've got a defensive structure in place. When we lose the ball, it's difficult for the opposition to play through us. It was way too easy last season. It was embarrassing. It was so easy that opposition would just cut straight through us. Now we're so much more organised that if we lose the ball, we're attacking. It's not going to be easy for Leicester. You can see that we're grinding out 1-0s. If we score first, then I think we could shut the game down. I think we are playing that way.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and Brad would probably agree with me here. If you scored first a couple of months ago, would have packed up and gone home as soon as you'd scored.
Yeah.
We like to give teams a lead now and then come back and beat them. But I've got to say, and I'm just looking here at your this to me, and you tell me, Rich, is this sums up your season in 2 games? 2-0 down to Leeds, you managed to claw it back and get a 2-2. And then you go to Leeds and beat them 2-0. It's that sort of season, I think, for a lot of teams that anybody is beating anybody out there. But I was surprised at that result, and you only got a draw with Palace in your first game with them either. Are you not winning the games you think that you should be winning?
Well, the Crystal Palace 1-1. If you watch that game, we had a crazy amount of chances to make it 2-3-0 in that game. We didn't take them, and then I can't remember who it was now. They scored an absolutely ridiculous free kick in injury time, absolutely ridiculous. So we threw that one away. Really, we should have put Palace away. They weren't great on the day. I think playing Arsenal the weekend after that was bad timing for us. It's a difficult game anyway, and I think after the Palace game,
you were close, though. I mean, that really went down to the wire, didn't it?
No, we didn't have Casemiro. I know it's no excuse because you still got the other players. It was a tight game. We played quite well in parts of that, and then obviously we came back to beat Crystal Palace. I think with the Leeds game, the 2-2, just poor defensive errors there. I think it was Varane caught in possession. We just threw it away. I didn't even see that comment. we gave Leeds a 2-goal start basically in that game. We were awful. We had someone last season that didn't know what they were doing. I got misled by a lot of people that said he did a great job at other clubs. He didn't do anything for Manchester United. If anything, he just was running us into the ground.
It was a weird decision, but then again, he's gone now, which is the main thing. Looking at our form there, Brad, Not lost. I mean, it doesn't show it there because that's just the Premier League games. I mean, we lost to Fulham, who are, let's face it, on a good run. We lost to some little club up the M1.
How on earth did you lose to that club? Just because we played them 3 times in the last 6 weeks, I think, and they've offered nothing.
Sympathy.
We didn't. They didn't do us in the first game, did they? I mean, the most exciting bit was them lads smashing up Nottingham Town Centre after the game. I'm joking, of course. I'm joking. But since then, Brad, we've got the Walsall game in there, FA Cup, which was always a tricky, a FA Cup away tie, a potential banana skin. But I say, I wouldn't have said this up until recently. Unbeaten in 4.
Yeah, and again, you can see it now in its entirety, getting Walsall in that round and having the game won fairly comfortably, in terms of how we played the game. It just adds to the momentum, and you need momentum because we hadn't, that was the first real chance we had to see any of the signings. Christensen, in terms of just arriving, Sutar wasn't even in at that point, I don't think, because it wasn't deadline day, or if he had, he just signed, or my days all over the place merged into one. So the fact that we kind of found a little bit of a platform to build off, and then you look at our 2 performances in the league that have followed that, it is good viewing. And again, you're hoping that this isn't another false dawn with Leicester, but you talk about the 2 clubs being in totally different aspects to where they were when they first met early in the season, which was a very cagey defensive Leicester taking on a ever-growing Manchester United. They come on to here, in my opinion, not just in form, but in the way they go about the game. It's going to be very difficult. My prediction, Chris, of the game. You asked me for it yesterday, I believe, or earlier today.
We'll show what it is in a second.
Yeah, and that just tells you where Leicester fans are. And again, you can afford to lose this game with all greatest respect because it is United at Old Trafford, and you take the hoodoo of going to Old Trafford's not been too brilliant for us over the years. But if we can now have a performance like we've seen, but we don't necessarily get the result that matches, I don't think it will be as disheartening as it has been early in the season when we've maybe lost this game.
I'm just looking at the last 6 away games for Leicester at United, and going back, it was draw, won, lost. Let's gloss over that.
Don't go back too far. There's probably quite a lot.
Yeah, I thought that would be good to look at, but no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But this is quite interesting, and Brad knows what I'm like. I love my stats, but as we look at the form table on its own, Man United are 5th in the form table. We've gone up to 12th, which would have bitten your hands off a few months ago, like I say. Yeah. But look at your home form. You're top of the tier in the home form, but on away form, good God, we're second.
Right, yeah, considering I think we got our first away point. That form is pretty good going. I know it's only taken out of contention. The home form seat up there is very pleasing, and
when you've had again, like you said, bad, we'll take anything.
Yeah, very true. We will, and again, with the season we've had, it speaks well to see that we've gone from 20th, which we must have been, or or at least close there with Liverpool, which is nice. It's not the way I wanted to be close to Liverpool in the table, mind, but to see us shoot up to 12, hopefully we can carry that on and keep climbing all the tables in terms of form and in the league in its entirety. It actually makes for good reading. This is a good time to do it.
Does it surprise you, Rich? Either yourself at top of, looking at you've not lost in 6 at home, but Leicester
I think
away form.
I would say it's more of a surprise how poor we were at home the last couple of seasons. I think we've always historically been pretty good at home. We definitely, I think Rashford scored in like the last, I can't remember how many home games, but we have a crazy record that when we score first, it's very, very rare that we don't. I don't think we lost a game for a long time if we take the lead. I know we've been doing really well at home. I think Rashford's actually 4th in the league now, isn't he? Goals, which is a bit crazy considering he's not really considered as a before the season he wasn't really considered possibly to be a striker or to lead the line. I think he's improved massively this season. I think last season, hopefully it was a blip. He did have some injury issues. The team wasn't playing great. I think this season he's impressing a lot of people, and I would say fair play to Brad. About 2 years ago, I did a podcast on my channel and said, if you can take one of our players, who do you want? And I'm sure Brad said, I want Rashford. I'm like, well, you can't have Rashford, obviously, but that's the player that a lot of people identified as a top talent when he was quite young. We're seeing him hopefully approaching the prime, looking like hopefully the player that we're hoping to develop into.
Where did I actually read somewhere?
He'll probably score when we play you guys, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think he is on an amazing.
He scored a good goal last night tonight as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. I'm sorry, Brad. I just want to say one thing about Rashford. Is they were saying a while, when Rashford was breaking through, that he was likely to be the new Iheanacho. Things have kind of changed, but Iheanacho's on seems to be hitting form, and if Brendan doesn't do a Brendan and sticks with the team, he's going. We've seen what happened, haven't we, Brad? When he gets that run in the team, he finds the net.
Yeah, and he's a consistent purple patch player. He's very much a confidence player. And Rich is right, and I still stand by it. I stood by it then. I saw something in Rashford that I see in Iheanacho, and I feel that I'm not comparing the two, by the way, in terms of talent, because Rashford's obviously back on fire and form, and we need this to continue for Iheanacho to prove that he was a shrewd buy from Man City. Because I've always said the same about Iheanacho. They've both suffered though in the same way over the last few years by going down the pecking order, changing not for Leicester, but for Man Utd, it was changing manager as well. Personnel didn't help him. He was shuffled around. He was on the left. He was in the centre. He was on his own. He was with two. It didn't seem to work, and it seemed like it was going to fade out from that young talent that we all saw when he burst on the scenes against Arsenal when he was 18. And now he's found his feet under a manager that trusts him to do the job where he wants to do the job. And again, not comparing them as talent per se, but in terms of their journey and how they're finding life now, Iheanacho's finally seemed to have been given that trust to do the job the way he can do it and play to his strengths, and it mirrors Rashford in that sense. And I sense both of them can score at the weekend if they play, because they both show they've got that about them to be the star of that team going forward. And I'm from a neutral point of perspective, and for the future of England, if I want to look at it and in that perspective as well, I'm very happy to see Rashford proving myself and a few others that kept backing him wrong by what he's doing this season.
I think Rashford will win a trophy. Has he won a trophy yet, Rashford?
Must have won.
Europa League.
He must have won like Europa and FA Cup.
Yeah, he was still there with the Europa.
Won a trophy before Harry Kane has. There we go.
Yeah. That's not odd. The way he's going, his kids could win one before Harry Kane won one.
I want to talk about this player, and I'm not going to go value or money or anything like that. But Harry Maguire. I mean, I watched him. I think it was the second game against Leeds that was on telly, and I think he played in that game. I think it's that game. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I saw him.
No, he wasn't the second one.
It was, yeah. And I saw him make a run that it reminded me of what he did at Leicester. And basically, he took the ball virtually all the way up to the edge of their penalty box. And has he deserved the stick that he's got? I mean, he's come in as the biggest, ever prize defender.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, actually, Chris. Because when he was playing against Leeds, I tend to avoid social media when I'm watching a match, just focus on the match. I looked at halftime and I couldn't understand why people were going quite aggressively into Maguire. If you watch the game, there was a chart I saw after someone had done a graph plotting ball progression. Harry Maguire was off the chart, and you could say that people's biggest criticism, I think, was a lack of understanding, where he's bringing the ball forward, but he's not just booting it anywhere. He's actually looking for space, looking for gaps, picking his passes, which what to some people appears to be like hesitancy, but it's composure to me. He's got a good range of passing, something that we didn't see with Varane, which is probably what went wrong in the first game with Leeds. Harry Maguire actually, he was quite rusty, so that there was like one time where I think the ball was given away and people panicked a bit, and obviously he got, I think, disproportionately blamed. If you look at the way Manchester United played, Harry Maguire had the ball a lot more than other defensive players. He was bringing the ball, progressing things very well. I think it's an easy target. It's a lazy opinion in my view, is that people just want to, if we're not winning a game 2-0 after 20 minutes, people go, right, this person's rubbish, why don't we make, it's crazy
We know
because
that feeling. We know that feeling.
you know what, I look at the game and you watch the game and you see Leeds are no idiots. Leeds have got a great defensive structure. We need to work Leeds. We need to work the block around. We need to find gaps. And it's just like a chess match. We're kind of working Leeds. Eventually, it wasn't the most fluid performance, but eventually the gaps appear. Eventually, when we take our chances, we've got some quality players. And it was as a Man United fan, it was a great game. Leeds give us a great battle. I enjoyed the physical battle, watching the players, and now we got a great result. I honestly cannot understand any negativity when you play one of your fiercest rivals at their ground with the crazy atmosphere they got and win the game 2-0. It's just a great victory. I was happy. And I don't understand this kind of going into your own players, that you're supposed to be supporting the team, aren't you? That whatever your view is on Maguire, he's a key part of the squad. And people might not like that, but he's a key part of the squad because at some point other people get injured. There's players I don't want to mention that just have injury issues in our defence, but you can't go in on him. I think, fair play. He'd been out of the team for a little while. There's a reason why he's first choice for England, first choice for Manchester United last season. He is a good player. The price tag is something that people use to, unfortunately, to just criticise him. But we'll see. He's a player that could leave, go somewhere else, and people will stop being negative about him. It's just gets the attention, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, when the rumours when he might have been leaving, I was quite happy. I just said, "Oh, we obviously couldn't afford him," but I said we would have had him back in. Well, I would have had him back in a heartbeat. I don't know about you, Brad, but
do you know what though? If he's available, he commands a decent transfer fee. A bit like McTominay gets a lot of stick, but clubs will pay a decent amount of money for players with the skill sets these players have. It's just a fact.
Oh, I mean, I liked when he was at Leicester, and I still like him. And it was a difficult Man United team to play in that, wasn't it? Because there wasn't really anybody playing particularly well.
No, exactly. If you have a defense that has no structure and people can just run at you, every defender's going to look bad, isn't it? When Man City don't play well and people run at their defense, sometimes their defense doesn't look amazing. But if they have the ball 99% of the time, then the defense has zero pressure, does it? So
very true.
Terry, a senior question. We're going to look at the team later on when we've let Rich go. We'll be picking our team with Brad. He doesn't know it yet, but he's picking the team. But Brad,
okay.
Well, it should be easy.
I'm sure Brad can do a good job of this.
Yeah, that'd be an easy one. That, to be fair, for a change. But yeah.
Oh, can I just say, last season, Craig and me did it every game. We never got one right. Brendan always surprised us. But talking about central defensive pairings, Matt Piper on the Leicester City, the Radio Leicester podcast, absolutely praising our two centre backs to the hilt. You wouldn't think that they've only been playing together, 2 games? But they're saying here, what has he said? Tactics this was actually Tactics Guru Dominic Wells, whoever he is, believes that the Ward Face and Harry Souttar partnership strikes the perfect balance in turning over play and allowing Leicester's attacking players to flourish. Apparently, Chelsea have already put a bid in for Harry Souttar, ready for when his contract expires.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me with Chelsea, and look, he gets comparisons to Maguire because that's how Maguire played at Leicester. The way Rich just described him then was what got us excited about him being a Leicester player. And the way he left the club and the thing he did, the act he did before by signing that big contract to help Leicester get the value they fought for him with his deal. He's one of them players that I look at United and think he probably fell victim to being paid to fit into a system and not built around. But they've sorted that out, United, and done that. But with Souttar and FaZe, we'd already said it about FaZe since he arrived, even at that debacle at Tottenham when he had to make his debut, bless him.
Yeah.
We've missed that aggression at the back to push forward, and you know, Brendan's not been able to really do that. We've loved Amati for the majority of his time at centre back. Me and you personally have. We've been a fan of him.
I can't say the same for Dave.
But yeah, well, yeah, but Dave doesn't like bounties, so his opinion on things is just sometimes one of them. We take it with a pinch of salt. But no, I mean, sometimes you miss that aggression, and when it's part of your personality as a football club, which it had become. If you look back at our seasons, well, we've been either successful in terms of, you know, that title winning season, but in terms of qualifying for Europe, or in that season where we won the FA Cup and qualified for Europe, the format was laid from the likes of Maguire driving us out of defence, getting us into the halfway line, and we've seen reminiscence of that. So you can see why the comparisons are made. You look at the challenges that were made high in our own half, practically in Spurs' half in the last game, that not just won us the ball but put us on the front foot and we went and scored from. And the fact that Leicester, you know, Leicester's fortunes have coincided with the signing and the way they play football, tells you just how desperate we were to inject a bit of drive and bravery in that back line. And you know, that's why Leicester fans are now looking at this fixture with a lot more hope than they were dread, and it's very commendable that they've done it.
Who gets excited and punches the air? I mean, if he ever scores, God knows what his celebration will be like. We've missed that, like you say, aggression, haven't we? And you know, I can see him, I can hear him. Well, I can't hear him because I've got no sound on, but I can see him shouting and pointing for the ball, and again driving us forward.
Yeah, and again, this is no disrespect to Luke Thomas, because he's a fantastic defensive-minded left back, and if you need a job doing to come on and show out a result, that's going to be the sort of player we get from him, and that's the impact he's going to have in games. And he's not, you know, he's not going to just drop off the face of the earth. I can imagine there's going to be times where he'll get played and picked. So it's good to see that energy. It has been needed. We did mention it probably even before the signings, that we had that with Robert Huth, and that carried us through a few seasons, and we needed it again. The French Voldemort, you know, he provided that for us before he, you know, snaked his way to 10th with Chelsea.
The mercenary.
Yeah. But yeah, to see that back is good, and it's nice to have in the team.
Yeah. Before we come to score predictions, and we'll let you go, Rich, because I know you've got another show coming up. How do you see Man United setting up against us?
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? I think there's a good chance that I think we're going to see something different with Weghorst has been in the team, and I don't know whether people rate him or not. I think he's been quite an important player for us.
But I was under the impression they were calling him the Dutch Giroud. The way you keep putting him on like he's going to do it.
Honestly, don't look at this. Van Nistelrooy is just a machine that scored goals. The ball went near him, and it was a one-touch goal. So he's a different class of player, just a completely different player. But with Weghorst, you see someone that can be an outlet for David De Gea. You know, someone to hold the ball up, someone that can switch the play, someone that can bring other people into the game. I was comparing him to Heskey. He's a player that is not going to be, maybe not Heskey at Leicester, maybe Heskey at Liverpool, where he's not going to be getting a crazy amount of goals, but he's going to make every other player in the attacking in the team look better, because he's going to be a selfless player, bringing other people into the game, and it's going to benefit your team. But Weghorst isn't going to be getting 30 goals a season, but he's going to be helping Rashford get more. He's going to be helping our attack, and it's going to help us retain possession. So it's an interesting one. I think, you know, in January, who's selling players, and you know, that our owners looking to sell. Where do you go for value? It's difficult. I think he's doing a job quite well, and it's fitting in decent. People will just look at the goals though, but in looking at the performance, I don't care who scores the goals. I just care that we win. I don't. It doesn't matter if we win like 1-0, and it's, I know, bounced off some defender. I don't care. It's a lot better than a draw. So
yeah,
he's doing all right. I think we might see him up front. Obviously Rashford's going to be playing. Maybe Sancho. I think Garnacho is going to be an impact sub almost certainly. In defence, I think we might see a bit more conventional Luke Shaw left back. Maybe I don't know if we'd see Maguire. It's difficult. It's kind of 50-50. Maybe Varane, Martinez, probably Wan-Bissaka's been playing quite well recently.
Yeah.
I think almost certainly Casemiro. So I think you can have that issue. Casemiro is going to be driving the team on, and then it's Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, he's almost certainly in the team. I'm just thinking whether we have McTominay, Sabitzer. I think it's going to be one of those two in there, or Fred actually. So midfield difficult to call. I think Bruno and Casemiro almost certainly, and then I don't know who else would be there. It might have. There's going to be one eye on Barcelona as well, with obviously a big game coming up on the Thursday. Possibly, maybe we save Fred for his energy, his crazy energy. Although maybe he could play both games. I don't know.
Carry on, sorry, Brad.
No, I was going to say, you mentioned the Barcelona game there. Do you see Rashford? Do you think it all depends on Ten Hag whether he's going to use Rashford as an emergency if it's not going well and he needs a goal to get something, or do you think he'll, given his age, he can afford to start Rashford and chuck Wakehorse on to rest him early for Barcelona then?
I think Rashford is. No, but we want to win every game, obviously. But I don't think you can rest players in the Premier League and expect to. Like Leicester are going to be a difficult team to break down, to beat whatever team you put out, whatever team you put out. Is obviously I can't remember where you are in the league, but based on current form, I think he's scored 4 goals in the last couple of games. That you're definitely a better team than your league position suggests at the moment. So it's going to be a difficult game. But I look forward to these games because it's a good battle. Like I said, we haven't had the best of Leicester recently the last few years, so hopefully we can. I think Rashford
I think it will
should
show
probably start
where we have moved to from where we were. And yes, we've had 2 good games, but they're only good games if you carry on with
it's difficult, isn't it? Because
form.
any drop in performance.
Casemiro not suspended for you because he was sent off, wasn't he? No, he was sent off. Whether he should have been
I think he's served it, hasn't he? We had 2 games against. Actually, no, we had 2 games against. Oh, maybe he is suspended. Hang on a minute.
Well, I'm just.
You might have a good point, actually, Chris.
I mean, you can never trust the internet, can you? But it's
no, I'm trying to think. He missed 2 games against.
The 26th of February.
He missed 2 games against Leeds, didn't he? He missed a game against Arsenal, I think. I don't know if he's not playing.
If he's only missed 2 games, if he's only missed 2 games, you'd assume the third one is going to be the Leicester one because obviously it's competition based, not on.
Yeah, he got the red card, then missed Arsenal. Oh no, sorry, he missed Arsenal because of a second yellow, didn't he? So it was the different suspension. So yeah, I think he might be missing. In which case,
McFred it is.
It's a bit masterclass. I mean, he is a good player.
And finally, before I say the scores, who do you fear from Leicester?
I think Maddison's an obvious shout. I think actually that against Tottenham, what we saw was just the pace and attack as well from, I can't remember, is it Iheanacho and another player, the link up between those two.
Tete, was
I think
possibly.
Yeah, I think Maddison's obviously been like your player of the season in terms of, even when you weren't playing well, he was somehow getting a crazy amount of goals and assists in a team that was struggling. It seemed to be one player that actually, you got to credit him when a lot of the other teammates didn't look like they had the fight in them. He was carrying it himself. He looked like he didn't let his performance drop. I think that's tremendous character he's got.
We could do it about a few bad games towards the end of the season so nobody comes in to buy him. But let's have
I think he's an obvious shout.
Yeah. Look at predictions here. We'll just quickly run through these.
There's a lot of away wins there.
There is.
There's a lot.
Nobody went for a win last week, so I think they're all hedging the bettings in the.
No, a lot of people are thinking you're going to score 3, which I find interesting. That's a lot.
Well, yes. I mean, Brad went for a 2-2 draw. I went for 3-2, as did Craig. Jerry Taggart, who is actually top of the league at the moment, also went 3-2.
Okay.
Ian Marshall, ex-player, went 2-1. Ian Wilson hasn't let me know yet. Steve Leinitz has gone 1-1, and Steve Walsh has gone 2-2. What are you going for, Rich?
Honestly, I think actually you're a dangerous team. You scored goals recently. I think there's a good chance you get a goal. But I think I'm backing us to win 2-1. I wouldn't really. I'd be surprised if we conceded more than one at the moment. I know we did against Leeds. I think I'm going to say 2-1 United. I think I've got no reason to doubt my team at the moment. We're playing well. No, Mike, 3-1. Come on, that's not happening.
I do think, though, I mean, it could go either way, but even if there's 10 goals, it won't be first on match of the day because Leicester are playing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, won't it? I think there's goals in it. Looking at historical games, there's goals in it. I don't see it being a complete thrashing either way. I think it's gonna. I think
it'll be tight. Yeah, I think it could be tight. And I don't think anybody's really gone well. Mike went for a 3-1, but apart from that,
my second guess would be 1-1. I think it's going to be 1-1 draw, or we nick it 2-1. I think it's going to be tight, but we'll see.
Would you take the point now, Brad?
Yeah, well, 100%. It's away from home. You're backing up a home win. Man U are not to be taken any lightly. That it's not Ollie anymore. It's not the old days of Ollie at the wheel. It's a good manager with a good squad.
Or the German accountant, for that matter.
Yeah, or a German dodgy accountant. No, they're well on the way.
Yeah,
if we get there, it will continue to form. It will keep growing the confidence. You know what? 1-1. Iheanacho scores. Nearest perfect outcome to a win you'll get if Leicester play well and come away with a draw and Iheanacho or Maddison grab a goal, and then we'll go and ruin Arsenal's life the weekend after. See
that sounds fair. I don't know if we can let you have a point. Well, given like games against Barcelona sandwich in the game, I think it's going to be a tough one. If we nick it, I'd say nick it. If we win any result at all, I think it's going to be very satisfying as a.
All I will say is, just treat us kindly if you want us to do you a favour against Arsenal.
Yeah, be nice, Rich, and we'll be nice to you.
Rich, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck, obviously, after the weekend for the rest of the season. I've redone my predictions, and I've actually got you as qualifying for the Champions League, which probably means you're going to finish about 8th because I predicted Arsenal to walk away with it now. But I do think you'll get Champions League. I've got to be honest with you. But like I say, if you can just leave it about 72 hours, that would be absolutely fantastic. Your details are in the description below. But again, just give a shout out as to where people can find you.
If you like Manchester United or Premier League content, quizzes, and other sorts of shows, usually late tonight, usually 10 p.m. onwards, please check out the channel, follow the link. And thanks, Chris. Thanks, Brad. Good to get you guys on my show as well. I think you're going to join me tomorrow night where we're going to rerun the same thing, but maybe with slightly different views. And we'll cover some different topics as well. And
it won't be as nice tomorrow because we'll be on the defensive.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll have some Manchester United bias comments, and we'll have some Manchester United bias predictions. So we'll see how it goes.
You bet. That's the way it goes. It's all banter, isn't it? It's all banter.
It's all fun, and good luck. It's good to see your team seems to turn things around a bit. So at least you don't have to focus on a relegation fight. You can try and finish above Liverpool because anyone that finishes above them is helping us out, pushing them down the league.
No worries.
Well, like I say, just be nice to us. We have got to play them again. But I mean, when we played them last time, we had to score all 3 goals when they beat us 2-1. So we got.
Yeah, no, exactly. You didn't really help them, did you? But no, thanks, Chris. Thanks. And
anyway,
nice
all the best,
again, Brad.
Take care, mate.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And you, mate.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks very much there to Rich. Do go and check his channel out. I know he's had to rush off because, like I say, he has got another show coming up later on today. So we've got the prediction show tomorrow at 9 o'clock, Brad, but we're on Rich's at 10:30. So I said we might be 5 minutes late, but we've got to keep
I am jam-packed tomorrow, so I'll be rushing through shows. I won't have time to breathe if all goes well. I'll be on a show. I'll be on a United show. Then I'm doing there with the predictions. Then we're both heading off into the sunset onto Rich's channel.
Have you not got one at 2 o'clock in the morning? Bloody hell, mate.
Probably.
Yeah. Come back to me when you've got those. Then we know you're busy. Cheers. As Mike says there, cheers. You have been getting a few right as well, Mike, in fairness. We're going to go and pick the team and be interested to see where you go on that. But Leon said, well, he said it to me, but we can both answer this. Would you trade Tete for Anthony? I
No.
mean, for me, it's early days yet. Anthony's been playing a lot longer here, hasn't he, than Tete? It's only been 2 games, but
Yeah.
let's wait and see. Let's wait and see.
I'd rather have nobody over Anthony. I just don't rate him. I just don't think he's got it. I don't think he's just all twirl and no idea. He embarrasses himself when he puts it out of play and gives it to nobody. I don't like that. I don't want that persona at Leicester. You're happy to him, Leon, in my opinion. With Tete, we'll have to see, but I'd rather have nobody than that Anthony. I don't like the way he goes about it. I think he'll sulk his way back to the other leagues in time, I'm afraid.
Mike
But
says here,
we'll see.
70 minutes gone. Nacho comes off. Who would you choose to come on? And I'll let you go first with this one. Vards or Daka?
Daka. I would go with Daka purely on the basis that we have to pass the torch completely. And that's not just choosing Nacho as the lone striker and the main option, which we talked about and agreed on in the debate show that we do. But for me, you want to be putting Daka on. He needs to get minutes throughout the season. He needs to also get his confidence, because certain things happen at Leicester, and just when someone starts to do well, they kind of pick up an injury. So I think we need to do that. Look, we know what Vardy can do, but I think Vardy, we saw it against Spurs. If Leicester are 2-0 up, then Vardy comes on. He'll see out the game. He'll piddle their defence off and work them harder. But Daka brings that intensity, and I would go Daka.
Now, you know me, and we've had the conversation about Vardy. So which way do you think I'm going to go on this?
I think you're going to go for Daka.
I'm actually going to go for Vardy. And you know why? Because I think he will. They know Vardy. I think he will, like you say, worry the defence. But I want to keep Daka fit for Blackburn Rovers. Give Daka the Blackburn Rovers game to come on starting against Blackburn Rovers. Nacho gets all the league games starting, and Vardy comes on for either after sort of 20 minutes. And that's kind of how I see the season going ahead, depending obviously how long we are in the FA Cup for.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, both would do a good job and a service to it. I just think now they both offer us pace to be utilised in 2 different ways.
Now, Terry, I agree totally. Anybody else wondering if Rodgers will continue with attacking formation against Man United? I put £5 on the fact that he goes defensive. Well, let me tell you this. Let's have a look, because what we're going to do now. Mike says, "Good answer, Brad. You've got a fan, Brad. You've got a fan."
Oh, sometimes my football gibberish gets through, and seems like I talk sense. Anyone think I know what football is all about?
Yeah, hang on a second. I've lost you. Let me just get rid of this, and then let me share something else. And what we're going to do, Craig normally does this, but we're going to pick the team, and we will decide where we are, who is going where. What formation do you think he will go for?
I don't think he's going to change from the 4-3-3 that you've got on the screen. And I know it's Rodgers, but sometimes he can be stubborn in a good way. And I think, don't rock the boat. The options are there. He's not going to go to a 5 at the back. I think he's going to stick to that tradition that he has, that if he wants to shore it up, he'll chuck Soyuncu on near the end if we're maybe 1-0 up or 2-1 up or something like that. But starting wise, it's 4-3-3. That's one thing you can guarantee he'll start it with.
Christensen. It's got to be.
Yeah. You think that, but Luke Thomas scored against United at Old Trafford the last time I think he played there. And that it all depends. This isn't as cut and dry as people may think. It sounds obvious giving Christian a start to it. But if he does want to go slightly cautious, he might be inclined to start Luke Thomas. But I would like to see us start and keep the aggression going. So I am going to put Christensen in there. But I'm already doubting the Rodgers curveball with that one, I will say.
You like you said, let me just...
I love how you didn't need to ask me if it was Danny Ward or Iverson, though.
No, I'm just presuming, because if you'd have shouted me and said, "Oi, it should be Iverson," I'd drop you from the show. Now then, this is going to be an interesting one for you. Right back, Castagna, or do you bring Ricardo on?
I think Leicester are gonna. I think Brandon's going to stick to his guns. I know Castagna hadn't had the best of games until recently. He played quite well against Spurs, which probably does him his favour. But we've got no reason to risk and rush Ricardo back. He got 5 minutes, let's be fair, where he didn't have any pressure on him, which was great. He was afforded his teammates being 4-1 up, so he wasn't being put on with 5 minutes to go. So I am going to stick with Castagna. And in contrast to kind of what you said about Vardy, I would look towards Ricardo's start being Blackburn in the cup. I think that's where we're going to get 70 or maybe even 90 minutes from Ricardo, because right now we don't need to rush anything back.
No, talking sense, which, like I said, we haven't always had from Brendan. Smithers.
I know.
It came up earlier when I was doing the stats before you came in. We've had that problem because, again, they've been doing a thing on the BBC today where it wasn't me, but a fan from different fan clubs of Leicester had to pick the club icon. And the guy, Sam, picked Mark Albrighton for us. And fair play, I think it's a good shout. And we were saying, because obviously we've got the problem that if Tete gets injured, does he then have to pull Maddison back over? And then obviously we lose how well he's playing in the middle. But if
I would argue.
Injured, I can't see it wouldn't be that bad if we use Ricardo that further bit upfield.
No, it wouldn't. Because he's played that position before. He has been the right winger before for Leicester when him and Castagna have played down that side together. So it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility if Tete wasn't available. And that could be the curveball. He could decide to play him there over Tete. But I would say, given the resurgence and the new lease of life that he's given to certain players, it would be opposed to if Tete couldn't play or wasn't the style of player that Rodgers wanted to, that Dennis Pratt could get on that right side as well, because he's done well since coming.
That's true. Who are you going to put in with Vestergaard in the centre back role?
I'm going to boot Vestergaard straight out of Old Trafford. In fact, I'm going to boot him into the stands of Old Trafford so he can stay there.
Right. You said I didn't have to ask you about Danny Ward.
Yeah. Well, this is just plain ludicrous putting Vestergaard there. Old Trafford will not appreciate you dumping a lamppost on the pitch. It's vandalism. So remove the lamppost. This is easy. It's suit on face. And I do sympathise and feel sorry for Amate that he's been kicked to the curb, it seems, in that back role. But I still feel he has a role to play. Sort of similar to what I said about Luke Thomas. I think he may comes in as that defensive-minded one and try and shore up a result if we do find ourselves in front, or goes into a back three. But there's no way they don't start. It's the most obvious names on the pitch next to Danny Ward for me.
Yes, no, I 100%. I was being a little tad facetious, Bradley.
I'd never have guessed. What's next? We're going with Bertrand in the middle.
You joke with Brendan.
Yeah, wow, yeah, there is that.
Okay, talking about the middle, who are we going to go for that central midfield role? Tielemans is possibly fit. He didn't have his press conference today because we're not playing till Sunday. Are you thinking Mendy, or are you bringing Tielemans back, or who are you going to go for?
I'm gonna stick with Mendy. I said it after the post match, and we've said it all along, Chris. You do not deserve to just stroll back into the team when someone puts in a performance and is playing better than you. I think we know, especially away from home. Brendan has made it very clear to us that he recognises he wants a player that doesn't just do the defensive work like we've got very capable bodies of doing with Ndidi and Samore, but he wants someone that can lock the door and put Leicester on the front foot. And Mendy is someone who's picking locks for Leicester at the moment with his performance, especially against Spurs. And
he's got a goal in him as well, hasn't he, the little devil?
Oh, he can't half-ping it, can't he, just? And
that one, Tielemans, that's what he was saying.
Yeah, he was like, I can do it too, you know. But yeah, for me, Mendy's warranted and deserves to stay in that team. I don't think anybody's really surprised where the next two's going, but one might not necessarily surprise you. But yeah, this one could be good.
Stick on Mendy for a second, because where was I reading? I didn't. I was on the Mercury, and I didn't get quite past the laughing at that he must not be named.
Yeah, it's not mercenary, but always. Yeah.
I did read something that Mendy may have to. Oh, it was on the BBC. It wasn't on the Leicester Mercury. That is why I can't find it. Mendy will want to go and play, and that is my worry. He's 30 now, coming up 31. You know, his next contract that he signed, wherever that may be, will possibly be his last one. Never say never. Barry Hales at 50 is still playing. But do you see him staying at the end of this? Well, I think he should be offered a new contract, whether he wants to stay or not. Because, like you say, you know, there's no guarantees, but then there's no Tielemans at the next season.
Yeah, and that seems to be having a diverse effect on how Brendan's going about giving out more game time and responsibility to the likes of Mendy and Pratt that we've mentioned. And look, there's no saying that he might not think, well, you know what, if I'm going to get just over half a season at Leicester each year, whether that's off the bench and collected with starts, I am 30. There is going to be a vacancy opening up in the summer. We're hoping not, but potentially two vacancies, although he probably wouldn't consider himself for the Maddison role as such. But he might look at that and go, well, you know, colour me interested. I am fancying given you know, a 2-year extension, and I'll be 32, 33 by the time that contract runs out. I'm fancying my chances with the run. If he gets hard to move out of that team, there's no reason why he wouldn't logically look at the offer from Leicester if one does come his way. And he does put pen to paper on a squad role at Leicester. I think he more than deserves it. And yeah, I think it'll be very good to see.
Yeah.
To see him play and sign a contract. I don't think he'll go anywhere if he's afforded that, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah. I just don't see where it benefits him to leave us.
He was our most expensive signing when we signed him as well.
Yes, for about 3.5 hours. Wasn't he, for 16
million? Oh, yeah, but technically. Mike's gone for Yuri in the middle. I would agree with Brad, I'm afraid. Nobody walks back into this team on those two performances we've just seen. He'll be on the bench. I'd have him on the bench, definitely. Right, to the left of Mendy.
I'm going to stick with him, even though he probably was one of the ones of the midfield that didn't cover him. I don't say he didn't cover himself in glory. He probably was one of the few players that wasn't able to stand out in the Tottenham game because there were so many doing so well. But I am going to stick with Kieran Dewsbury Hall. I'm going to stick with Dewsbury Hall. Because the options you could play there, I think he's been performing better.
Has he really?
No, he's done nothing to warrant the drop.
He still does run that ball forward. He does attack the defenders.
Yeah, he does, and he does cause the mayhem. He probably does the job that Maddison does, but he just does it 15 yards deeper, if you will. He'll win you a free kick that you can put into the mix that's like 5-10 yards just inside their half. And them sort of set pieces can be just as dangerous as a Maddison free kick, especially now with the added height we've got from our centre backs that we can add into it. That it's definitely something to do. So yeah, for me, I'm all for Dewsbury Hall staying in that midfield.
Now, obviously, you cannot go Perez, and I know as much as you'd like to. So I guess we're seeing Maddison here.
1,000,000% we're seeing James Maddison. Rich was spot on. I know we've got a soft spot for Kelson. We think he's done really well since he's come in the team, and that Maddison's been the standout player this season by a country mile. Talks are ongoing. Brendan, one thing we can always credit when it comes to this sort of thing with Brendan is he goes, look, it's in the player's hand. We can only do so much as a club. Who knows? Turn the season around, keep the good form going. He might see the potential to want to build his career here. I'm certainly hoping so. But as far as lining up for Manchester United, there's just no way he's not. He's not in that team. So,
and I've got to be honest with you. For me, it's the same. Oh no, it's not. That's the wrong position. Where are we? I tapped that one. Harvey Barnes on the left.
Yeah, again, Christensen has offered him that freedom that he's been desperately crying out for. I know the man we're going to say on the right has helped balance that out because we haven't got the, Real Betis superstar that hasn't played for them yet, to my knowledge, in Perez on that right. So, Barnes has been given a new lease of life just by that alone. So, yeah, it's got to be Harvey Barnes. Again, very close behind Maddison in terms of goals and his assist rate, especially in recent weeks. Yeah.
And I apologise, I was just looking at something, but I don't know if you said this, but Tete being on, and I'm presuming you're going to put Tete on the right there, it has freed up Barnes, hasn't it? It's like almost giving him a new lease of life. Maddison has been able to move in field, and he's got that new lease of life. And Barnes, it's almost like there's less pressure on him now.
Yeah, and you feel that sometimes a player coming into the squad doesn't just freshen up the competition for the position that he plays, but he freshens up what you do and are able to do going forward. We can talk about how we haven't really had a right winger in about 5 seasons, and that we've had to go majority time left. And yeah, that is a very viable argument to make. But you could also look at the diversity. Christensen comes inside and tries to be an inverted wing back, if you will, which allows Barnes to kind of get freed up because the defence have to mark Christensen and Barnes and not just double or triple team up on Barnes, and vice versa. When Christensen bursts down that wing, he can then drag the defence away on the inside and being available. And look at the goals he scored at the last weekend. Yes, one was harshly ruled out by a knee hair being offside, but the finishes he's been doing and that are proof that he's shown what he's shown us before and what Leicester fans know he's capable of. So yeah, long may it continue. And yeah, of course, it's Tete on that right. Although, like I said with Brendan, if I was building what I thought Brendan would go for, I would not be surprised if Dennis Pratt started the game. I think maybe just to give him a chance to settle in a bit more because he was a little bit quiet against Spurs. But yeah, I would be looking for Tete to keep his place. But yeah, Brendan changing.
Or are we changing him for Pratt?
You know what? I'm going to go for Pratt. I think Rodgers is one of them where he'll look at it and he will go, I want to try a little bit something different. Somebody who's not going to leave us a little bit open if he leaves the ball, because as good as his defensive duties can be, Tete does leave it open. I think Pratt's warrant enough time and enough effort on that training ground to give himself a start. And we'll wait one change, which might surprise people, but
surprise me. And it's got to be this guy up front, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, Jan Vestergaard is the. Oh, sorry, yeah, Ian Acho is a man in form, isn't it? It's what Leicester fans.
You put Pratt in there for Tete. You might be putting Vestergaard up front for Acho.
I might be a little bit risky, but I'm not insane. Yeah, he deserves it. He's in good goal scoring form with the role that Vardy's going to take the season, which is very clear, it seems, especially like we've said over the last 4 or 5 games, it seems to be the case as well. And he deserves it. He's warranted it. We've been wanted it. We've felt like that father that just wants to see the son succeed and when he plays in a football match and been given the chance to prove himself. He's had that chance. He's got another chance here because he proved himself in that one, and he's backing it up. So long may it continue. For me, Ian Atto gets in.
Yeah. Mike says, I'm very chatty tonight. No particular reason, just got verbal diarrhea. Look, you're well at home with us two then, I'll tell you.
Yeah, we love the support, mate, in the chatting, so don't worry about it.
No, we don't mind how much you chat. As long as you don't do a Lisa, then we are very happy for you to verbally diarrhea away, you know. Chris is in. How are you doing, Chris? I hope you beat Man United. Can't stand them. A lot of people.
We'll do you proud, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll do our best for you. I tell you, I don't know what it is, Chris, but every sort of couple of weeks, I get you adding me on Instagram, and because I've lost you on Instagram, I don't know what's going on. But good luck for you at this weekend as well, Chris. So that's our team. I'll put it out on all social medias tomorrow. We've got a bit more. Well, it's oopsie daisy. I've done it again. Anthony tells me off for doing that.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't speak about Anthony. You've got a clip made for him later on. I'll have to make up for my last show. It wasn't quite that. Wasn't quite his excited finger in the air, but he said something that was once I get it clipped later on or tomorrow, you'll have to look out for it, Chris, because it will make you giggle.
Load
Anthony,
load it as a short. But
I will do.
Thank you very much, Brad. Standing in for Craig tonight.
No, my place was always. I love to talk about Leicester, especially when it's going well.
Exactly. Craig's back next week, but maybe that's a bad thing.
Well, if we win, then I think there'll be justice for Brad. Hashtags on the show if he returns.
Yeah. If we win, I'm not having Craig back. Stay on the line because I want to have a quick chat with you afterwards.
No worries, buddy.
And but just again, give a shout out where people can find you.
Yeah, well, normally you find me hanging around there like a bad smell. But if you do like top 10 football things and football conversations in general about top 10s, top 10 battles is my YouTube channel. Go and check me out on YouTube. We did a show before I came on here, so that'd be fun for you to check out, and a quiz if you like football quizzes. And Twitter's the best place to find me if you want to know and get up to date with everything that I do and sprout a load of dribble about football and Leicester in general. Twitter handle is @fulltimefocus. So yeah, check us out there. But if you are new, subscribe and like this video for Chris's channel because he's brilliant at the work he does here.
You are a gentleman, sir.
Yeah, and that's £20, please, mate.
Add it to your wage.
Yeah. My wage of £0. Yeah, I love
that. Oh, damn, yes, I forgot that. You do it for the love. Mate.
Yeah.
Like I say, stay online, have a quick one with you after, misses, and I will see you back on Saturday night. No, I'll see you back tomorrow night for the prediction show. Forget that's Friday now.
Yes, so we're talking about that. I wonder how Steve got on with his 15 points. We'll have to see. I don't think
that wasn't a particularly good week for any of us, if I'm honest with you, mate.
No, but maybe some tables have been turned.
Well, if anybody wonders what's going on, if you want to go on to Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube when this is finished, there's a new section on there which is shorts, which is where the clips are going from each show. And Brad owned Steve. Let me just put that way. Brad owned Steve. It's the best comment of the night, and it deserved its own show. You know.
Thanks, mate. I do my best. I aim to please.
Yes. Okay, mate. I'll speak to you in a second.
Speak to you in a second, mate.
Cheers. Thanks very much, everybody. Great show. Thanks to Rich coming in, Man United. I would have been worried about this, like I say, a few months ago. Now, yeah, like we say, give me a point. I'd take it right now. But what's coming up?
Coming up next on Leicester Till I Die TV.
Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, the prediction show in its new home on Fridays. That will be myself, Brad and Steve Lynix, and I think there could be a bit of winding up going there. 10:30, we're going to go over and join Rich on his channel to talk Leicester. And then on Saturday, try something different. We're going to have a Soccer Saturday type show. We're not playing till Sunday, so we'll be going through all the leagues and all the games and all the pots and all the pans. No, I can't do Brian Clough. I can't do anybody, if I'm honest. I have trouble doing myself. Again, that sounded wrong. But I'm going to go. I think that's the best way. If you've been watching Leicester LTID TV on YouTube and on Twitch, thank you so very, very much. And if you have been listening to us on your favourite podcast platform, thank you for lending me your ears. As I always say, you can have them back now. And let's just say, are you ready, Arnie? Here we go. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That's all, folks.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
I'm looking for Dr. Goodhead.